Harry is leaving America. The reason is not the one he gave.
Action against the Daily Mail to pay his share of $13 million within 7 days.
No, they shouldn't. They should keep all dog bowls well away from Harry. I don't think anybody would really criticise Prince William if he saw Harry and thumped him one in the face.
Go home, Harry. We never wanted you here to begin with. If we had to have one of the kids of Prince Charles, then Prince Charles, we all wanted William. No one wanted you.
Reporter today, Prince William is adamant there can be no way back for Harry and Meghan.
Everybody is asking the same question this week. Why are Harry and Meghan moving back to the UK after 6 years in California? And the answer being briefed into the newspapers is reconciliation. It is not reconciliation. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex spent those 6 years trying to build an American version of the household they walked away from. And by the end of this video, you are going to know exactly what they asked the United States government to hand them, in what year, and precisely who said no. That is the piece no British newspaper has connected to the removal vans. Around the 16-minute mark, I am going to give you the name of one specific building in Washington, D.C. that this couple asked to be housed in, and the rule attached to that building about who is allowed to sleep in it. Because once you know the rule, the move to Britain stops looking like a homecoming and starts looking like the last address available. Before that, the money, the deadline that falls this month, and the sentence out of Balmoral that ends the reconciliation story before it begins. Start with what the public was told, because the official version is tidy and it deserves to be taken seriously before it comes apart. On a Wednesday in the 3rd week of August, the relocation was confirmed. 2 children, a school place, a house outside London that has nothing to do with the crown. The framing arrived with it, fully formed, identical in every outlet that ran it. A family coming home, a son mending a relationship with an unwell father, a grandfather who will finally see his grandchildren more than twice a year. And the palace did not fight a word of it.
And their assistant editor wrote, the King has made it clear that the Prince of Wales and the future of the royal family remain his priority after the Duke of Sussex announced his return to the UK. Charles was said to be naturally pleased with the opportunity to see more of his family in a private and personal capacity. However, it is understood the King, who was with William when the news broke, has insisted privately that the work of the institution will not change.
Read the second half of that carefully, because it is doing 2 jobs at once. The King is pleased. The work of the institution will not change. That is a welcome and a wall inside the same paragraph, briefed to the newspaper of record, which means it was written to be read as policy rather than sentiment. And the wall has already been tested by the people whose job is to know exactly where it stands.
I do not see a world in which Harry and Meghan resume official working duties. Whether or not we see them more in public life, and we undoubtedly will we start to see them at some family occasions? Possibly. But I don't think you will see them back on, sovereign grant funded overseas tours on behalf of the government. I think if that was to happen, I think, William would have a strong view on that. And I don't think there's much appetite from the King for either. We keep being told there isn't.
The terms are public and nobody is disputing them. They can live here. They cannot work here. They will turn up at family occasions, which in practice means Christmas and Easter, and nothing that runs on the sovereign grant. Half in and half out was refused in 2020, and it has now been refused again in advance before a single box was packed, which leaves the question the coverage walked straight past. If those are the terms, and the terms were understood before the announcement was made, why announce it at all? Why not simply move? A family relocating quietly does not need a magazine. Except a magazine had it first.
King Charles's stance. But look at this, for example, from People magazine, leaked directly, of course, by Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. And the headline is, Prince Harry's UK move is the best opportunity to heal the rift with Prince William. Exclusive source. We know who the exclusive source is. Okay, so we know this is Harry and Meghan using People magazine directly to try and apply pressure to change William's view. And this is...
An exclusive requires a source, and 6 years of watching this couple has established one dependable rule about their sources. They are never anonymous by accident.
But my first question is, exclusive from who? Because as of right now, I have not seen Prince Harry, Meghan Duchess of Sussex, or an identified Sussex spokesperson announce that this family is moving back to Britain. Yes, other news outlets are reporting it, fine. I still don't believe it.
That is the correct question, and almost nobody in Britain asked it. There is still no statement. No named spokesperson has stood behind a syllable of it. What exists is one American magazine, one unnamed insider, and a headline that reads less like news and more like an opening bid that the move is the best opportunity to heal the rift with Prince William. A family does not brief its own reconciliation to a magazine before the person it wants to reconcile with has agreed to any of it. A negotiator does. Then there is the sequence. And the sequence is where this stops being a family story.
According to People's own reporting, King Charles was only made aware of these plans on Sunday. You're telling me Prince Harry and Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, are supposedly preparing to relocate the King's grandchildren to Britain, potentially enrolling them in school there, and the King only found out about it days ago? I find that very difficult to believe.
Sunday, that is when the King was told. By Wednesday, it was in print on 2 continents. Somewhere inside those 72 hours, a decision was taken that the father would hear it first and the country would hear it second, and that the gap between the two would be narrow enough that nobody could get in front of the story. Now look at where the King was standing when he took the call.
They're on holiday. This is their family get-together that they do every single year, and this is why Harry and Meghan timed it when they did.
Balmoral, not a summit convened about the Sussexes. The annual family gathering, the same weeks every August, the one fixture in that diary that has been fixed since long before any of this started. The Prince and Princess of Wales traveled up 2 days after the call was made.
Will be officially brief. The Prince and Princess of Wales have arrived in Balmoral, following the King's arrival there on Tuesday, just 2 days after Harry first told his father the news. While William and Kate were stunned at the news, bless them. I mean, imagine their shock. I mean, I was shocked enough. Yeah. Imagine their shock. I understand the couple plan to rise above it and not let the Sussex drama derail their commitment to service and duty.
Set the two facts beside each other, because apart they are gossip and together they are a method. The 1 week of the year when every senior member of that family is inside the same building, and the one announcement guaranteed to be the only subject discussed in it. Nobody picks that week by accident, and nobody who genuinely wants a quiet reconciliation with his brother chooses the fortnight his brother cannot leave the room, which takes the whole thing back to a proposition that was put on the table in 2020, refused in 2020, and has never once been withdrawn since.
This has always been the goal. This has been what they have been working towards since 2020, since they were kicked out. They have been trying to find a way to prove that a half in, half out can work, that they can be an asset and a part of the monarchy in some way.
If the goal has not moved in 6 years, then the question is not what they want. That has been on the record since Sandringham. The question is what changed this month that finally made them move. And the answer is that the American side of the ledger stopped working, and the people closest to them said so out loud before anybody hostile did.
You know, I think if you've been watching the story really closely, the clues have been there all along. You know, we saw earlier this year that Harry and Meghan started to kind of scale down the size of their offices here, the number of staff working for them in the US. We also saw them scale down their charitable foundation as well to operate on a different working model.
That is the friendly account. It comes from the voice that has spent years being the most sympathetic to this couple anywhere in the media, and even in his telling the picture, is a business shrinking. Offices reduced, staff cut, the foundation restructured onto a different working model, slowly and methodically over months, which is another way of saying this was not a decision taken in August. It was a decision executed in August, and the reason a business shrinks is rarely a mystery.
Next for Meg and Harry. Maybe they've come back because the Netflix contract has run out. They can't afford Life in Montecito. Yes. The Netflix series bombed. The Spotify contract had to be terminated because nobody wanted to listen to it. So they may have got an advance. You know exactly how the media works. It's not going to carry on forever. It was running out.
None of that on its own moves a family 4,000 miles. Plenty of people have a bad commercial year in California and stay in California. What moves you is a date. On Friday, the 21st of August, in the High Court in London, Mr. Justice Nicklin published his ruling on costs in the case the Duke of Sussex and 6 other claimants brought against associated newspapers and comprehensively lost in July. The number is £9,544,355, payable by the 28th of August. That is an interim payment on account. It is not the bill. The bill is assessed separately, and the basis on which it will be assessed is the part that actually matters.
Stood up to Prince Harry, went further than simply ordering the losing side to contribute towards the publisher's costs. He granted associated newspapers the incredibly rare right to have those costs assessed on the more generous indemnity basis. What that means, folks, is that Prince Harry is effectively liable for unlimited legal costs.
Understand what an indemnity basis means, because it has been reported everywhere this week and explained almost nowhere. On the standard basis, a cost judge works through the winner's bill line by line and strikes out anything disproportionate. That is the mechanism that stops a losing party being wiped out by the other side spending. An indemnity order removes it. The presumption flips. Every item is recoverable unless the paying side can show it was unreasonably incurred, and the burden of showing that sits with the man who lost. Judges do not make that order because you lost. They make it because of how you lost.
Have gone to court. He added the cumulative effect of these matters takes the case well outside of the norm. The conduct was unreasonable to a high degree. You heard me right. Prince Harry and his legal counsel were responsible for conduct that was, and I quote, unreasonable to a high degree. Now,
if you think that is the story, wait until you see what comes next, because everything before this is just the surface. Those words are not a description of a weak case. They are a finding about conduct, the manner in which the claims were brought, pleaded, pursued, and publicly advanced. The reasons were set out in a 44-page ruling. And among them were the speculative character of the claims at their origin, the exceptional breadth of what was alleged, and the public presentation of accusations of serious criminality that were never established. That is what an indemnity order is for, and it is why the number sitting underneath it has no ceiling.
But, and this is the big but, your total bill is uncapped, which means that it could be as high as what the Daily Mail is asking for, £34.5 million. The real issue is Harry and his team, Elton John, Doreen Lawrence, that whole mob, are only covered to the tune of £16 million. Harry could be facing a bill this time next year of millions and millions of pounds.
Those two figures are the entire arithmetic. £34.5 million claimed by the publisher, £16.2 million of adverse cost cover spread across 7 claimants. The judge declined to cap the difference, and the case that produced it was not a close-run thing.
Justice Nicklin, the judge, delivered a mammoth 436-page judgment rejecting the case against the Daily Mail. And of the 97 allegations of unlawful activity advanced in the pleaded case, none was upheld by the judge.
97 allegations, not one upheld. A judgment running to 436 pages, which is not the length of a ruling in a finely balanced case. And the 7 names on that claim form are not 7 people who are now going to split a bill 7 ways.
Friends, is Harry going to bail? Is Elton going to bail Harry out? No chance. Because don't forget, relations between Elton and Harry have cooled since Elton very kindly accommodated Harry and Meghan at his South of France bolt hole after Megxit. Since then, Elton has been deafening in his silence about Harry and Meghan, just like the Clooneys, just like the Obamas, just like Oprah, just like Gwyneth Paltrow, just like the Beckhams.
That list at the end deserves a second pass because it is not a list of enemies. Every name in it belonged to somebody who once stood beside them and now says nothing at all. There is no rescue arriving from that direction. There has not been for years. Which is where every other channel stops and where this story actually begins. Because everything you have heard so far describes a couple leaving America because America stopped paying. That explanation is popular, it is partly true, and it is far too small. Money running out explains a smaller house. It does not explain a different country. On the 21st of August, the same day the costs ruling landed, an American newspaper published a source account of what the Duke and Duchess of Sussex had actually been attempting in the United States since 2020. Not a lifestyle brand. Not a production deal.
Delusional Prince Harry and Meghan Markle sought US political clout far beyond dreams of any royal since King George III, the Post has learned, with the Duchess of Sussex angling to take over the Senate seat held by Kamala Harris ahead of the 2020 presidential election.
That comparison is not decoration. George III is the last British royal who tried to hold formal power in America, and he lost a war over it. The claim being made here is that this couple pushed further into American public life than any member of that family has attempted since. Here is what they went for first.
Joe Biden's win over President Donald Trump, a source says Markle requested a sit-down with California Governor Gavin Newsom because she wanted to be considered to be appointed to the seat held by Harris, which she vacated just before becoming vice president on January the 20th, 2021.
A source close to the Duchess firmly denies she wanted that seat, and that denial belongs in this video. What is not denied and cannot be is the meeting. The governor's own office logged it, an introductory meeting on the 19th of October 2020, 2 weeks out from a presidential election, at a moment when everybody in California politics understood a Senate vacancy was about to open. The seat went to Alex Padilla, appointed 2 days before Kamala Harris was sworn in as vice president. That is the ambition. Now here is the ask.
Then we move to late 2021, and both Harry and Meghan requested an Oval Office meeting with Joe Biden, as well as accommodation at nearby Blair House. That is a perk reserved for foreign leaders on state visits, multiple sources say. White House staff quickly rejected the idea, with one source noting the spectacle of Harry and Meghan sitting down with the leader of the free world would have caused a major diplomatic kerfuffle with number 10 Downing Street and the British royal family.
Blair House. Put the phone down for 90 seconds because this is the center of everything. Blair House is not a hotel, and it is not a spare room. It is a government residence on Pennsylvania Avenue, directly across the road from the White House, and the rule attached to it is the entire point. It is where visiting heads of state sleep. It is where a president-elect stays the night before an inauguration. Kings, prime ministers, chancellors, people who arrive representing a country. A private couple with no constitutional role, no public office, and no delegated authority from any nation on earth asked to be put up in it, and to be photographed in the Oval Office while they were there. Then read the reason it was refused, because the reason is more revealing than the refusal itself. Not that it was inappropriate, not that they were unimportant, that the sight of